transformation requires extraordinary effort, years of relentless discipline, and monumental breakthroughs. But the truth is, life doesn't change in grand, dramatic moments. It shifts in the quiet realization that the limits we perceive are often illusions of our own making. In just 1 hour, you could discover a sense of calm amidst life's chaos. And in just 1 hour, you can lay the foundation for a future that, 20 years from now, you'll look back on with gratitude for the choice you made today. So, I ask you this. Set aside these 1 hour not for entertainment, not for distractions, but for understanding yourself more deeply. Use them to learn how Stoicism can help you build a life of strength, clarity, and purpose. I promise you, these 2 hours will not be wasted. They will be the most valuable investment you ever make in yourself. Pause for a moment, sit down, and allow me to give you the tools that could redefine the next 20 years of your life. Let's begin this journey with a vision. Imagine this. You wake up on a misty morning, standing atop a high hill. Thick fog blankets the landscape, obscuring every path. There is no map, no guide, just you and an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. You take a step, then stop, turn back, and find yourself lost once again. This is how most people live their lives. Adrift, unsure of their direction, moving forward blindly through fog, hoping that one day the path will reveal itself. But the path never appears on its own. You have to create it. This is why Stoicism places purpose above all else. Without purpose, life is nothing more than a directionless journey, a game you don't even understand the rules of. And if you don't define your own purpose, someone else will. They will tell you what to chase, what to believe, and what to fear. Before you realize it, you'll have spent your entire life pursuing dreams that were never truly yours. Here's a bitter truth. Most people don't actually want to find their purpose. Why? Because discovering purpose means confronting the rawest version of yourself. It means looking inward and answering a terrifying question. What do I truly want in life? And if you answer this question honestly, you will come to an even more painful realization. You've wasted too much time on meaningless things. This truth is so uncomfortable that most people choose to avoid it. They numb themselves with social media, meaningless work, toxic relationships, and fleeting pleasures. They keep themselves busy, not because they have a clear goal, but because they fear the emptiness of facing themselves. And so, they continue drifting like a ship without a compass, tossed by the waves of circumstance, only look back one day and realize they never truly lived. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that if you don't take control of your life, the world will do it for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Don't debate what is right. Do what is right. Don't wait for purpose to find you. Create it." One of the biggest misconceptions about purpose is that it must be something grand, extraordinary, or inspiring. It doesn't have to be. Purpose is not about becoming a billionaire. It's not about writing a masterpiece. It's not about traveling the world to find yourself. Purpose is found in what you do every day. The Stoics embraced a principle called eudaimonia, the state of living well, where you are not controlled by emotions, not chasing fleeting desires, but instead focusing on living in alignment with your highest nature. You don't need to know your lifelong purpose right now. You only need to know how you will live today. Will you work with dedication? Will you treat others with kindness? Will you learn, grow, and strengthen your character? Will you refuse to let fear control you? Every day, you lay a brick. One day, you'll look back and realize you've built a castle. Why does having a purpose bring inner peace? This isn't just philosophical theory. It's backed by neuroscience. Studies show that when people have a clear goal, their brain produces less cortisol, the stress hormone, and more dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and joy. In other words, having purpose makes you less anxious and more fulfilled. In Japanese culture, there's a concept called ikigai, the reason you wake up in the morning. Those who find their ikigai are not chasing fame or fortune. They simply understand why they are here. When you live with purpose, you no longer fear death because you know that each day you're living a way that truly matters. If you're serious about finding your purpose, do this today. Spend 2 hours writing down everything that matters to you, everything that feels meaningful. Don't overthink it, just write. Then, pick the one thing that stands out the most. It could be helping others, creating learning, or personal growth. Ask yourself, if I only had 1 year to live, what would I do? Your answer will be a clue to your purpose. Start now. Purpose is not something you think about. It is something you do. You have two choices. Continue drifting, waiting for something to happen, allowing life to be dictated by external forces, or decide right now that you will live on your own terms. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you create. Take 2 hours today to begin. When you do, the next 20 years of your life will no longer be a series of meaningless days, but a journey of meaning and mastery. Perhaps you're wondering, how do I take control of this journey? Must I walk alone through the darkness, uncertain of my steps? Rest assured, you are not alone. In the moment ahead, I will share with you Stoic lessons that will help you reclaim ownership of your life. You are not walking this path in isolation. I will walk with you. More importantly, Stoic philosophy will be your unwavering guide, helping you find light even in the darkest moments. But before we move forward, you must understand this truth. Freedom does not come from avoiding responsibility. It comes from embracing it. This is a key to unlocking the next door in your journey. The freedom of responsibility. Freedom, that is what we all long for. The freedom to do what we want, to go where we please, to live a life unbound. But there is a paradox that most people fail to see. The more you run from responsibility, the more you lose your freedom. Why? Because when you refuse to take responsibility, you surrender control of your life to circumstances, to other people, to fate. When you blame your job for exhausting you, the economy for making you poor, or others for hurting you, you turn yourself into a passive bystander, a puppet controlled by the world, a victim of life. But there is another path, the path of the strong, of those who take ownership of themselves, the path of Stoicism. It does not promise ease. It does not promise comfort, but offers something far more valuable, inner freedom, peace, and unshakable strength. And to attain it, you must do what most people fear. Take full responsibility for your life. Think of the moments when you felt the most powerless, when you were rejected, when you failed, when someone hurt you. The path to freedom begins with ownership. It begins now. Have you ever felt out of control, angry, resentful, or desperate? Stop and think. What truly caused your suffering? Was it the event itself, or was it the way you interpreted it? Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus revealed a profound truth. It is not events that disturb us, but our thoughts about them. You cannot control other people, the economy, or the past and future, but you can control how you respond. You can control your thoughts. And when you master that, no one can hurt you unless you allow them to. Most people live as puppets of the world, letting their emotions be controlled by forces beyond their grasp. A negative comment online ruins their day. They grow angry when others don't treat them as they wish. They feel defeated because life isn't fair. But Stoicism reminds us of a crucial truth. Life does not owe you fairness, and others are not obligated to be kind to you. You cannot change how the world works, but you can change how you face it. And in that lies true power. Responsibility is not a burden. It is liberation. When you reject responsibility, you may think you are escaping hardship, but in reality, you are imprisoning yourself in victimhood. On the other hand, when you take responsibility, you reclaim control. When you say, I am responsible for my emotions, no one can manipulate your mood. When you say, I am responsible for my career, you stop waiting for luck. When you say, I am responsible for my happiness, you stop searching for it outside yourself and start creating from within. Seneca once said, most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. The strongest individuals are those who control themselves. Look at truly successful, genuinely happy people. They do not complain about the world. They do not blame others. They do not dwell on why life is unfair. Instead, they ask, what can I do? This is a mindset of leaders, of those who take charge of their destiny. The greatest athletes don't whine about referees or the weather. They train, hone their skills, and focus on what they can control. The most successful entrepreneurs don't blame the economy. They adapt and take action. Those with strong inner lives don't seek validation from others. They validate themselves. You may argue, but there are things beyond my control. And you would be right. There are many: death, betrayal, war, natural disasters, and life's injustices. But you can control how you respond to them. If you lose your job, you can despair, or you can learn a new skill. If someone betrays you, you can become bitter, or you can let go and move on. If life throws challenges at you, you can crumble, or you can rise stronger. That is the difference between ordinary people and those who are truly free. Ordinary people are controlled by circumstances. Truly free people control themselves. But achieving this requires action. You cannot simply listen and nod. You must practice. Starting today, every time you feel the urge to blame, stop and ask yourself, what can I do to change this? Every time you get caught up in things beyond your control, remind yourself, is this really worth my energy? Every time you feel dissatisfied with life, remember, no one owes you anything, and you are responsible for creating the life you desire. If you spend just 2 hours truly reflecting on this and applying it to your life, you could set yourself free for the next 20 years. You will no longer be a victim. You will no longer be manipulated by the world. You will no longer wait for someone else to save you. You will be the master, the one in control, the one who is truly free. And when that happens, nothing can bind you. No circumstance can break you. No failure can shake you. No fear can control your mind. You will no longer be a boat drifting aimlessly, tossed by the waves of life and external forces. You will be the captain of your own ship. You will stop complaining about unfairness. Stop blaming fate. Stop waiting for the world to change. Instead, you will meet every challenge with unwavering resolve, ready to embrace whatever comes your way. When you master yourself, you don't just find freedom, you find true strength. Strength to grow through adversity. Adversity is not an anomaly. It is not a mistake of the universe or an injustice uniquely assigned to you by fate. It is a law of life, a fundamental part of the game. The more you resist it, the more you suffer. The more you crave an easy life, the weaker you become. But if you shift your perspective, if you see adversity as a teacher, a forge, a battlefield where you refine yourself, then it is no longer your enemy. It becomes part of the path that leads you to strength and true serenity. The Stoics did not shy away from suffering. They understood that suffering forges the greatest individuals. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, did not live in luxury or peace. He faced wars, plagues, and personal losses. Each day, he did not wake to indulge in comfort, but confront chaos. Yet he did not complain. He did not ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, he reminded himself, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Adversity is like fire. You can let it consume you, or you can become the fire itself, burning through every obstacle, turning them into light and strength. It is not circumstances that define who you are. It is how you choose to use them to shape yourself. And if you decide to face adversity as a warrior, nothing in this world can destroy you. The human mind is a remarkable machine. When faced with difficulty, your brain has two choices: to perceive as a threat or as a challenge. The first leads to fear, avoidance, and paralysis. The second leads to focus, determination, and action. This is not just philosophy. It is science. Neuroscientific studies show that when we change how we view a problem, our brain changes how it responds to that problem. Master your mind. Control your perspective. And you will find that true power, the kind no one can take from you, was within you all along. Adversity cannot truly break you unless you allow it to. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every event in your life is neutral until you assign it meaning. Failure can be an end, or it can be a beginning. A setback can destroy you or can build you up from the ashes. It all depends on your choice. The strongest people in history were not those who never failed, but those who failed countless times and kept moving forward. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling faced 12 rejections before her book was published. These people were no different from you. They were not luckier, not inherently smarter, nor more talented. They simply possessed one crucial trait. They were not afraid of failure. They understood that failure is not the end. It is the only road to success. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." If you want a strong body, you must put it under pressure. Lift heavy weights, run until your lungs burn. If you want a strong mind, you must do the same with adversity. Face failure, pressure, and uncertainty. Those who run from hardship may feel safe in the short term, but they remain weak forever. On the other hand, those who walk into the fire will become unbreakable. Understanding this is not enough. You must act. You can read hundreds of books on philosophy, but if you do not actually face adversity, you will never learn its real lessons. Knowing is one thing, living it is another. If you fear failure, throw yourself into the hardest challenges. If you hate uncertainty, put yourself in situations you cannot control. If you want to be strong, do the very thing you fear most. When you truly face your fears, you will realize a fundamental truth. They are never as terrifying as you imagined. We often create worst-case scenarios in our minds, but reality is never as dreadful as we expect. With every fear you conquer, you grow stronger. Every challenge you overcome lays another brick in the foundation of your confidence, resilience, and inner peace. There is a truth few recognize. Once you no longer fear suffering, nothing can hold you back. Someone who has faced poverty no longer fears losing money. Someone who has endured loneliness no longer fears abandonment. Someone who has stood in the storm no longer fears rain. When you are no longer afraid, you are free. And when you are free, you can do anything. Life does not wait. It will throw adversity at you whether you want it or not. You have two choices. Let hardships crush you, or use them to forge yourself into something greater. You can take the easy road, avoidance, fear, staying in your comfort zone. But if you do, you will never grow. You will live like a fragile leaf, blown away by every gust of wind. Or you can choose the hard road. Face challenges, conquer fear, and emerge stronger than before. Remember, adversity is not a barrier. It is a test. It does not come to block your path, but to ask you, do you truly want to be strong? If your answer is yes, then adversity is the brutal training ground you need to sharpen your mind and willpower. But growth through hardship is not just about enduring suffering. Suffering without learning is wasted pain. The real key is understanding. Understanding what adversity teaches you, recognizing how it has shaped you, and moving forward as a sharper version of yourself. This is why self-reflection is essential. It transforms you from someone who merely survives hardships into someone who actively learns and grows from them. If adversity is fire, then self-reflection is a mirror that shows you how you've been forged. The Stoics did not just live through life. They observed themselves, analyzed, adjusted, and kept moving forward. If you want to master yourself, this is a skill you cannot afford to ignore. A philosophical question is not just an abstract thought experiment. It is a raw, unfiltered confrontation with yourself. No masks, no illusions, no performances. Not the answer you craft to impress others. Not the image you carefully construct for social media, but the most stripped down, unembellished version of yourself. The truth is, most people have never truly faced themselves. They are swept away by the currents of life, reacting mindlessly to everything around them. They chase goals they assume are important, but rarely pause to ask why. Stoicism teaches that if you want to take control of your life, you must first master your mind. And that begins with self-reflection, a deceptively simple practice, yet one powerful enough to transform everything. But not everyone is willing to do it, because true self-reflection is not comfortable. It is not a shallow exercise in self-improvement or a mental trick to feel better. It is liberation, a process of peeling away false beliefs and illusions you've clung to for so long. When you do this, you will discover something the world is desperately chasing but few ever find: serenity, freedom, and a life truly worth living. Now ask yourself, what makes you uneasy? Is it comparison? Fear of failure? The nagging feeling that you're not enough? We spend our lives avoiding these questions, layering on distractions, a respectable career, a stable life, happy relationships. But have you ever stopped to wonder if these things truly reflect who you are, or are they just a golden cage trapping you inside? Epictetus once said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." We don't fear reality. We fear our thoughts about reality. And that is why self-reflection is such a powerful tool. It strips away distorted perceptions and allows you to see yourself as you truly are. So, how do you begin? Start with stillness. Turn off your phone. Sit down and observe your mind as an impartial witness. No judgment, no justification, just observation. Let go of expectations. Let go of pressure. The question is not who do I want to become, but rather who am I when nothing else is imposed upon me? And when you do this, you will come to a startling realization. We fear ourselves more than we think. Why? Because self-reflection can be painful. When you look at yourself with honesty, you will see the shadows you've tried to hide. You will recognize that some of the things you pursue are not truly yours, but were placed upon you by others. You will see that many of your decisions are driven by fear rather than purpose. You will realize that much of what you once thought was important is, in fact, meaningless. But this pain is necessary. Only by facing the truth can you free yourself from it. So instead of running, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I avoiding? Are the things I'm chasing truly mine, or just echoes of society's expectations? Peace does not come from having all the answers. It comes from a willingness to face the hardest questions. And when you do, you will see something incredible. You've been controlled all along. Most people think they are living freely, but in reality, they are simply reacting to opinions, to family expectations, to the fear of judgment. This traps them in an endless cycle of external control. They live like puppets pulled by strings they don't even recognize. Self-reflection cuts those strings. It helps you define what truly matters to you rather than letting others decide that for you. It frees you from the illusion of perfection because you realize that life is not a competition you must win, but a journey to becoming yourself. Most importantly, it stops you from wasting time on things that don't matter. When you reflect daily, you begin to see clearly what is noise and what is meaning, what is truth and what is illusion, what is worth your time and what is not. And in that clarity, you no longer feel the need to chase after the superficial because you have found the most important thing, yourself. So when this moment ends, I encourage you to sit alone, undistracted. Write down your thoughts, honestly, without filters. Examine the habits, the beliefs, the fears that control you. Decide on one small action to change. You will begin to realize how much unnecessary weight your mind has been carrying, worrying about why your colleague is advancing faster, why someone else seems to have everything easier, why you haven't achieved what you want. You will see yourself trapped in an invisible race where people mistakenly believe there are only two choices, winners and losers. But is that really true? Life is not a battle where one person's success means another's failure. It is not a zero-sum game where only a few can enjoy glory while the rest must suffer. It is time to break free from that mindset, to expand your perspective, and to see a different reality. One where growth is not a game of conquest, but a journey we can all rise through together. But before you can escape the zero-sum game, before you can break the invisible chains that bind your thinking, you must first understand why this mindset is so deeply ingrained in human nature. Why do most people believe the world is an arena where one person's victory inevitably means another's loss? Where does this sense of competition, this obsession with securing the larger share of life, come from? It's not something that simply disappears as you grow older. It's a program, a legacy passed down through thousands of generations. And if you're not aware of it, you will spend your entire life in a state of struggle, never feeling like you have enough. Since the dawn of time, humans have lived in harsh environments where resources were scarce. Food, water, shelter. When one tribe hunted down an animal, another went without. When one individual gained more power, others lost their chance to lead. This was a law of survival, an unavoidable reality in a world of limited resources. Our brains, shaped by tens of thousands of years of evolution, still carry the survival-driven mindset. Even though the modern world operates differently, even though someone else's success today doesn't mean your failure, our minds unconsciously continue to view life through the lens of scarcity. We fail to see that the rules of the game have changed. We no longer have to fight for every scrap of food to survive, yet the fear remains. It lingers in our comparisons, in meaningless competitions, in the unease we feel when we see others achieve something we haven't. Stoic philosophy teaches that what truly matters is not how the world is, but how we perceive it. If you continue to operate under old instincts, you'll always feel insufficient, always fear losing something, always be haunted by competition. But if you reprogram your mindset, you will see that the world holds far more opportunities than you ever imagined. You will realize that success is not a limited pie to be divided, but something that can be created. Happiness is not a scarce resource to be fought over, but a state of being you can cultivate within yourself. That is the moment you begin to step out of the zero-sum game. Happiness is not a finite resource. You can thrive without needing others to fail. If you continue to see the world as a zero-sum game, you will always feel deprived, anxious, and afraid that you are not enough. But if you shift your mindset, you will realize that life is not an arena of competition, but a vast playground where each person can create their own value without taking from anyone else. You will understand that life is fleeting. No matter how much you fight, how many achievements you accumulate, or how hard you try to control everything, in the end, it will all pass. Everything you hold today will one day be gone. This is not a pessimistic warning, but the most liberating truth of all. Impermanence is a fundamental nature of life, an ever-flowing stream, much like a river that never stands still. We may try to hold on to a moment, an emotion, or a person, but the tighter we grasp, the faster it slips through our fingers. Impermanence is not some distant concept or abstract philosophy. It is a reality of existence. Stoicism does not teach us to ignore or avoid this truth, but rather to face it with open eyes and a steadfast heart. Everything changes, and because of that, we must learn to accept, appreciate, and move forward with strength. If you truly understand impermanence, you will no longer live passively, swept away by the tides of circumstance. You will no longer fear the inevitable. Instead, you will discover something far more valuable: inner peace amid life's storms. How many times have you wished for a moment to last forever? A love that never fades? A joy that never ends? Or for the most beautiful phase of your life to stretch on indefinitely? Yet the truth is, everything is fading the very moment we experience it. Everything we love, hate, desire, or fear is constantly changing, second by second. We think we have plenty of time, yet in reality, with each passing day and hour, we are losing our chance to truly live. We postpone our dreams because we believe tomorrow will still be there. We hesitate to express love because we assume there will be another opportunity. But one day, we realize that everything has drifted away. The people we love are no longer by our side. Opportunities are closed, and all the things we once thought were eternal have become distant memories. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not meant to instill fear, but to awaken clarity. If we recognize that every moment is finite, we will not waste it on regret, anger, or meaningless worries. Look around you, your home, your favorite belongings, even the people you cherish. Do you truly own them, or are you merely borrowing them for a brief moment in your life? One day, everything you have will become a memory or vanish entirely. Yet their value does not diminish simply because they are temporary. What makes them meaningful is this moment, right now, while you still have them. In Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, living in harmony with nature without force. Stoics share a similar perspective. Enjoy what you have while it is present, but do not cling when it departs. When you understand this, you will no longer fear loss. You will no longer despair when life leads you down unexpected paths. Instead, you will learn to accept and adapt rather than hold on to what is already past. Perhaps one of the greatest human pains is the fear of loss. We fear losing what is familiar. We fear change. But if we look deep within ourselves, we will realize that the pain does not come from the loss itself. It comes from our attachment. We suffer because we refuse to accept that the world does not conform to our desires. We feel anger when a relationship ends, forgetting that it was never truly ours to begin with. We worry about losing money or status, failing to recognize that these things were never an inherent part of us. Epictetus once said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Life is constantly changing, and most of those changes are beyond our control. But the one thing we can control is how we respond to them. Science supports this as well. The brain has a mechanism called neuroplasticity, the ability to adapt and rewire itself. This means that no matter what you're going through, you can train your mind to overcome it. Impermanence is not a curse. It is a reminder that you are stronger than you think. If everything changes, why should we wait? Why not be the one to create change? Instead of fearing loss, focus on creating something meaningful. If you knew your time was limited, would you still postpone your dreams? If you understood that a relationship could end at any moment, would you cherish your loved ones more? If you accepted that the world is constantly evolving, would you dare to step out of your comfort zone? Impermanence is not a reason to retreat. It is the fuel that drives us to live with greater purpose. No one can stop time from passing, but we can choose how we live in each moment. Every day, we can either get lost in meaningless worries or choose to live fully as if it were our last. If we truly understand how fleeting life is, will we still procrastinate on our dreams? Will we still let fear dictate our thoughts? If everything disappeared tomorrow, what within us would remain? Realize another truth. Nothing is ever truly perfect. It is this very imperfection that makes life beautifully meaningful. If impermanence frees us from the fear of change, then imperfection teaches us to find beauty in every fleeting moment. We spend our lives chasing an illusion, perfection. We become obsessed with ideal models, convinced that only when everything runs smoothly and flawlessly will we feel fulfilled. But that is a mirage. Perfection does not exist, and the pursuit of it is the root of suffering. When we constantly strive for an immaculate version of ourselves, our work, or our relationships, we burden ourselves with an impossible standard and unknowingly reject the life unfolding before us. Stoicism does not teach us to surrender or embrace mediocrity. Rather, it guides us toward a higher form of freedom. The freedom that comes when we stop resisting imperfection and learn to embrace it. The very nature of life is chaos and unpredictability. No matter how meticulously we plan, things can fall apart. No matter how deep a bond is, it can fade. No matter how persistent our efforts, they may not always yield the results we expect. Stoics do not seek perfection. They seek adaptability. They understand that strength is not the absence of mistakes, but the ability to accept life's cracks and make them part of a greater journey. They do not try to control the uncontrollable or allow external circumstances to dictate their inner peace. They are not fixated on wholeness, for they recognize that life itself is an ever-flowing stream of unfinished moments. But if we do not strive for perfection, does that mean we abandon progress? Quite the opposite. True growth begins with the acceptance of imperfection. Those trapped in perfectionism often fear failure so much that they refuse to take action. They wait until they know enough before they dare to try. Wait until they feel confident before they dare to speak. Wait until everything is certain before they dare to move forward. Yet while they wait, life does not wait for them. An artist cannot paint if they are afraid of making mistakes. A warrior cannot fight if they are always waiting for ideal conditions. A person cannot truly live if they keep postponing happiness until they achieve some distant, flawless version of themselves. It is within imperfect strokes, stumbles, and setbacks that we truly learn, grow, and become stronger. Stoics do not measure their worth by the outcome, but by the attitude they bring to the journey. If someone pours their heart into their work yet fails, they do not see it as a loss, but as an essential part of life. If someone loves wholeheartedly yet faces separation, they do not let it destroy them. Instead, they use it as an opportunity to understand love and themselves more deeply. When we accept that life is a series of experiments rather than a perfect linear path, we stop fearing mistakes, stop avoiding failure, and stop demanding that life unfold exactly as we wish. When we let go of the pressure to be flawless, we begin to truly live. But how do we embrace imperfection in a world that constantly pushes us toward perfection? A Stoic approach is to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. We cannot control how others perceive us. We cannot control the economy. We cannot control life's impermanence. But we can control how we respond to these things. When a plan fails, we can curse fate, or we can learn from it and move forward. When we face rejection, we can sink into self-doubt, or we can understand that our worth is not determined by external validation. When confronted with loss, we can grieve endlessly, or we can cherish what once was and step forward with gratitude. The difference between someone crushed by life and someone who stands strong through every storm lies in this choice. And when we learn to navigate life without demanding perfection, we attain something far greater than happiness: serenity. Stoics do not chase fleeting pleasures. They seek an inner peace unshaken by things beyond their control. When a person is no longer bound by unrealistic standards, they are no longer weighed down by pressure. When a person no longer seeks to please everyone, they are no longer hurt by criticism. When a person no longer resists imperfection, they finally begin to experience life in its raw, unfiltered beauty. No expectations, no resistance, just presence. Life is not a perfect painting. It is a work of art filled with scratches, randomness, and irreplaceable imprints. If we try to erase every flaw, we only blur the very strokes that give it meaning. If we wait for perfection before we begin, we remain trapped in our comfort zones, never progressing. It is imperfection that makes life valuable, for within it we find opportunities to grow, adapt, and recreate ourselves from broken pieces. Once we understand this beauty, we stop clinging to unattainable ideals and stop fearing the loss of things that seem precious but are, in reality, burdens. To achieve something greater, we must sometimes let go. We must be willing to sacrifice illusions of perfection to find strength in life's unpredictable reality. In doing so, we transcend. We do not merely accept imperfection, we embrace it. Let go and step forward towards something far more meaningful. Sacrifice in Stoicism is not a loss but a liberation. It is not about giving up something to become an ascetic. Rather, it is about shedding unnecessary burdens to attain serenity. People fear loss, yet they fail to realize that the very things they dread losing are the ones truly holding them back. We often think that accumulating more will make us richer, but as Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. True wealth is not about having much, but about needing little. Once you understand this, you will see that sacrifice does not weaken you. It grants you the ultimate power, control over yourself. So what must we sacrifice? The answer is not just material things, but also our way of thinking. We must learn to sacrifice negative emotions: anger, envy, fear, and anxiety. These emotions do not come from the outside world. They stem from our attachment to things we cannot control. Are you angry because someone treated you unfairly? That only means you expect fairness from others, something entirely beyond your control. Are you anxious about the future? That means you are attached to a specific outcome that no one can guarantee. Stoics teach that sacrificing attachment to results is the only way to achieve inner peace. When you understand that you can control only your actions, not the world around you, emotions will no longer dictate your life. Those who master life can navigate its storms without being shaken. When betrayed, they do not harbor hatred. When they fail, they do not despair. When they lose something, they do not feel empty because they understand that nothing is permanent and nothing truly belongs to them. This is not indifference. It is mastery. It is a state of mind that cannot be disturbed, a state the Stoics call ataraxia. But sacrifice is not just about letting go of emotions. It is about removing the unnecessary burdens that make us weak. Look at your life. How much of what you own do you actually need? Do you truly need toxic relationships, expensive possessions that bring no real value, or goals pursued solely to meet others' expectations? The Stoics believe that strength does not come from accumulation, but from simplicity. A person becomes stronger when they are not bound by wealth, complexity, or meaningless ambitions. When you sacrifice the unnecessary, you do not become weaker, you become free. And in that freedom lies an unshakable power. If there is one undeniable example of the power of sacrifice, it is the love of parents for their children. They give up sleep to soothe a crying baby, sacrifice personal time to care for their family, and pour all their energy into their children, even when they have nothing left for themselves. But do they see this as a loss? No. They are not trading personal joy for misery. They are transforming a part of themselves into something greater, the future of their child. A Stoic does not see parental sacrifice as suffering, but as steadfastness. They understand that the most precious things in life never come without a cost. But that cost is not pain. It is an investment in something greater than oneself. So why, when we speak of sacrifice, do we only see what we lose instead of what we gain? A mother may give up her career to raise her child, but has she truly lost everything? Or has she created something far greater than herself? A father may work tirelessly to provide for his family, but is that a burden, or is it the ultimate proof of love? Sacrifice is not abandonment. It is transformation. It is the shift from self to something larger than ourselves. The ego is the heaviest burden we carry through life. It demands recognition, praise, and superiority over others. But does any of this bring true peace? A Stoic would say the ego is a prison, and sacrificing it is liberation. Look at those who are truly great. They do not waste energy proving themselves to the world because they understand that true worth does not lie in external validation, but in their own actions. When we sacrifice our ego, we stop worrying about judgment, stop fearing failure, and stop being consumed by comparison. We do what is right because it is right, not because someone is watching. Comfort is a double-edged sword. It brings ease, but also breeds weakness. One of the most important lessons in Stoicism is the practice of voluntary hardship to strengthen the mind. Seneca would sleep on the cold ground and eat frugally to remind himself that he was never a slave to luxury. Try sacrificing a bit of comfort every day. Wake up earlier, exercise in the cold, resist indulgence. These small acts train resilience, helping us live without dependence on ease. Most importantly, they teach us that happiness does not come from indulgence. It comes from the power to control oneself. The strength of sacrifice does not lie in loss, but in liberation. Liberation from insecurity, meaningless desires, and a fragile ego. When you let go of the superficial, you do not become weak. On the contrary, you become invincible because at that moment, nothing can control you. Not fame, not wealth, not the fear of failure. Sacrifice is not about giving up. It is about trading for something greater, inner peace and strength. But freedom only has value when it is used. You may free yourself from the chains of desire, but if you stand still, you are still a prisoner. This time, not of indulgence, but of hesitation. How many times have you known what you needed to do yet failed to act? How many times have you let time slip away, promising yourself, I'll do it tomorrow? Face reality. You do not have unlimited time. Every dream you postpone, every decision you hesitate to make, and every opportunity you let slip away are fragments of a wasted life. Every time you say later, a part of your life is indefinitely delayed. Time waits for no one. It moves silently forward, taking with it ambitions, chances, and possibilities that could have become reality. You do not procrastinate because you do not know what to do. You procrastinate because you are running from yourself. The most tragic thing is not failure, but realize you have lived a half-hearted life, all for tomorrow that never comes. Consider procrastination a slow form of self-destruction. It turns you into a slave of time when, in reality, you should be its master. Time is the most valuable asset you possess, yet it is also the one you waste the most. You think you have plenty of time, but in truth, you only have now. Every moment you let pass without doing something meaningful is a piece of life stolen. And the thief is you. Why do we procrastinate? Not because we are lazy, but because we are afraid. We fear failure. We fear change. We fear stepping out of our comfort zone. As long as we have not started, we can still entertain the illusion that success is possible. Procrastination is not just about avoiding work. It is about avoiding transformation. Taking action forces us to shed our old selves. But change comes with uncertainty, and that terrorizes us. So we delay. We tell ourselves it is not the right time yet. Truth is there is no such thing as a time to begin. Epic once asked, wait before you demand the best for yourself. Question is not pressure. Meant to wake you up. You have not truly demanded the best for yourself. Then what exactly are you waiting for? Stoics did inspiration. They acted first, and emotions followed. You do not need to wait for a magical moment to start. You just need to start right now, regardless of how you feel. If you want a book, write a sentence immediately. If you want to exercise, stand up right now and do a simple workout. If you want to change your life, take a small action at this very moment. If you hesitate, tell yourself just 5 minutes. If you need an article but lack motivation, promise yourself to write for just 5 minutes. If you need to work out, do just one. Once you begin, the momentum action here forward. This is zero option. Giving yourself no second choice. Always find a way to procrastinate. But when you act immediately, this is why soldiers on the not wait for motivation. They have only move forward. Imagine yourself as Hernando 19 to conquer the Aztec, an impossible 600 men against in the face. He did something. He burned. This was not just a strategic move. It was a psychological declaration. No ships, no battle. The only chance fight possible. Holding back strength to escape out. Absolute determination. Skill. Way possible. For set out your goal publicly. Invest a significant amount of money in learning, so that you have no choice but to follow through. If you want to start a project, set a public deadline, and ensure someone holds you accountable. Burn your ships, and you will find the strength to move forward. The option of quitting does not exist. You must act immediately. No retreat, no maybe tomorrow, no waiting for inspiration. The only path is forward. Procrastination does more than steal your time. It robs you of your potential, your opportunities, and the impact you could have on the world. But the good news is you can break free. You can take control. You can act now. And when you do, you will experience liberation. No more helplessness, no more fear. But does fear truly disappear? Or has it always been there, simply waiting for you to face it? We procrastinate not because of the work itself, but because of what happens when we truly commit. We fear failure, mistakes, ridicule, and the possibility that we are not good enough. So we delay. We stretch out the process. We wait for the perfect moment, a moment we believe will arrive when we feel strong enough, ready enough. But the truth is, that moment will never come. You will never feel entirely ready until you push past your fear. A fundamental truth that Stoic philosophy emphasizes is that fear is not an external force binding us. It is an illusion created by our own minds. We are not imprisoned by circumstances, but by how we react to them. Epictetus once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the view he takes of them." It is not events themselves that trouble us, but the perspective we impose upon them. And if fear is a product of our thinking, then the only way to dismantle it is to change how we confront it, not by avoiding it, not by waiting for it to disappear, because it never will, but by actively moving toward it, by touching it, by realizing that it is not as terrifying as we once believed. This is no easy battle. Fear is powerful. It seeps into our thoughts, infiltrates our decisions, and holds us back from valuable opportunities. It whispers that we are not good enough, that we should not try, that we won't be able to handle it. But Stoic philosophy does not submit to such defeat. It does not call for us to eradicate fear, because that is impossible, but instead teaches us how to walk through it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." True strength comes from recognizing that we have control over our reactions. When we understand that fear is not an impenetrable wall, but an illusion, we empower ourselves. But how do we turn this realization into action? The answer lies in confrontation. Exposure therapy, a scientifically validated psychological method, aligns with this philosophy. Someone who fears heights must gradually expose themselves to higher places. Someone who fears failure must put themselves in situations where failure is possible. Someone who fears emotional vulnerability must embrace it and learn to rise again after being hurt. Imagine a warrior stepping onto the battlefield for the first time. His hands tremble, his heart pounds, and fear clouds his thoughts. But he does not run. He moves forward. And with each battle, he realizes that fear no longer paralyzes him. It is still there, but it no longer controls him. Life works the same way. If we keep avoiding fear, it only grows stronger. But if we face it step by step, it loses its power. To do this, we must understand a key principle. All great changes begin with small steps. This is a core tenet of Stoicism. When Marcus Aurelius spoke of perseverance, he did not mean sudden leaps, but the discipline of consistent, meaningful practice. If you fear public speaking, do not force yourself onto a grand stage immediately. Start with small conversations and gradually expand your comfort zone. If you are afraid to try something new, do not rush in recklessly. Begin with the simplest actions. Small steps build true strength. A warrior does not become formidable overnight. He trains day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment. Courage is cultivated through countless small choices every day. Along this journey, mistakes will be made. That is inevitable. But instead of letting mistakes weigh us down, Stoicism teaches us to approach them with a calm, analytical mind. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Growth requires the acceptance of mistakes. We cannot evolve without stumbling. What matters is that we do not let those mistakes define us. They are lessons. If you make a mistake, do not be harsh on yourself. Instead, examine it objectively. What went wrong? Why did it happen? How can it be done better next time? Treat yourself as an apprentice, someone in constant growth and development. We cannot control everything in the world around us, but we can control how we respond to it. And when we dare to face our fears, when we accept our mistakes without letting them define us, when we step forward even with a trembling heart, that is when we reclaim our power. What we fear today may become what we master tomorrow, but only if we are courageous enough to move through it. Stop believing that you need to feel ready before taking action, because you will never feel entirely ready. Do it even while afraid. Walk forward even when you cannot see the whole path. Start even if you are unsure of success. Remember, freedom is not the absence of fear. Freedom is knowing that fear cannot stop you from moving forward. However, confronting fear does not mean charging ahead blindly. Moving forward without clarity of thought can lead to confusion, lost direction, and uncertainty. Courage is not just about action. It is about having the wisdom to discern the right path. This is where another principle of Stoic philosophy comes into play. Solution-oriented thinking. Do not let problems weigh you down. Do not passively wait for change. Instead, immediately seek a way forward. Immediately focus on what you can do. Life is filled with challenges. No one is immune to unexpected problems. But if difficulties are inevitable, then what truly determines your life is not those hardships themselves, but how you think about them. There are two mindsets people adopt when facing adversity: a problem-focused mindset and a solution-focused mindset. One keeps you trapped in worry, helplessness, and suffering, while the other makes you stronger, calmer, and more in control. The danger is that most people do not realize which mindset they're operating from, and before they know it, a single way of thinking has dictated the quality of their life for years. Imagine a person standing at the edge of a river, wanting to cross but finding no bridge. A problem-focused thinker will stand still, staring at the rushing water, complaining about how unfair life is. They blame, they worry, they ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But none of these thoughts get them anywhere. Meanwhile, a solution-focused thinker immediately looks for ways to adapt. Can I swim across? Is there a sturdy log to use as a bridge? Is there a path around? If I cannot cross now, what can I do to prepare for next time? The difference may seem simple, but it creates two entirely different lives. Stoicism teaches us that people do not suffer because of what happens to them, but because of how they perceive it. As Epictetus once said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. When you focus solely on problems, you surrender control of your life. You allow circumstances to dictate your emotions, making yourself a victim of negative thoughts. But when you focus on solutions, you reclaim your power. Understanding the power of silence allows us to see the bigger picture. The Stoics recognize that a person who masters silence holds power not just over others, but, more importantly, over themselves. Silence is a tool for clarity, self-control, and avoiding meaningless battles. As Epictetus once said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. No one can make you lose your temper unless you allow it. Every day, we are drawn into endless arguments, petty disputes on social media, gossip, and conflict at work and home. But when you choose silence, you win from the very beginning. Think about a time you argued with someone online or engaged in a heated discussion at work. Did you truly achieve anything, or did you simply exhaust yourself? Silence does not mean conceding. It means refusing to engage in a pointless game. A Stoic understands that there is no need to respond to every provocation, prove oneself to everyone, or fight battles where victory and defeat are equally meaningless. In our noisy world, one voice is often neglected, the voice within. Silence is not just an escape from external chaos. It creates an inner stillness where our truest thoughts can emerge. We often seek answers from the outside world, but they have always been within us. To hear yourself, you must embrace silence. Try setting aside a moment each day for complete stillness, no phone, no music, no interruptions. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but gradually, you will realize that silence brings clarity. Many things you once thought were important will seem trivial. Most of your worries will reveal themselves as self-created illusions. And most importantly, you will understand that you do not need to chase the world. You only need to discover what truly matters to you. Silence is not avoidance or weakness. It is a conscious choice that allows you to take control of your life instead of letting life control you. Observe more, speak less. Let your words carry weight, not because of their quantity, but because of their value. The most successful people are not those who speak constantly, but those who know when to remain silent and when to make their words count. This principle is reflected in Japanese swordsmanship through the concept of mai, which refers not just to physical distance between warriors, but also to timing. A skilled swordsman does not strike immediately. They wait for the perfect moment. Silence functions the same way. It gives us space to think, assess, and act when the time is right. You do not need to rush or speak impulsively. Wait for the right moment, and when you do speak, people will listen. Beyond silence, Stoic wisdom also teaches us to find meaning in the ordinary. Most of us grow up believing that life's value lies in grand achievements and remarkable milestones. Yet, the majority of our lives are made up of ordinary, repetitive days. If we do not learn to find value in the small things, we risk missing out on nearly all of our lives. A repetitive job may feel meaningless to one person, yet serve as a lesson in patience and responsibility to another. A quiet morning may feel lonely for some, but be a gift for those who know how to truly live. Life does not come with inherent meaning. It is a blank canvas, and we are the ones who decide what to paint on it. The Stoics did not shy away from repetition. They embraced it as a mental exercise. Washing dishes was not a tedious obligation, but an opportunity to cultivate patience. Walking the same familiar path was not a mundane routine, but a chance to appreciate each breath, each step, each breeze. The truth is, meaning is not something to be discovered. It is something we must create. If we do not actively create meaning, life will always feel empty. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control circumstances, we can always control our mindset. If we do not take charge of our perception, the world will dictate it for us. This is why so many people feel unfulfilled even after achieving what they once longed for. Someone may spend years chasing fame, only to realize upon attaining it that satisfaction is fleeting. Why? Because they sought meaning outside themselves rather than creating it from within. One way to find meaning in the ordinary is to turn routine actions into intentional rituals. Instead of hastily drinking coffee, take a moment to appreciate its aroma. Instead of commuting on autopilot, use the time to reflect on how to improve your day. Daily activities, when done with mindfulness, can transform into rituals that nourish the spirit rather than feel like meaningless habits. This is also reflected in Zen Buddhism, where even the simplest acts, sweeping the floor, cooking, washing dishes, are opportunities for mindfulness. The Stoics embraced the same principle. They did not chase after grand experiences, but learned to turn every moment into an art of living. However, to truly grasp the value of the ordinary, we must confront an unavoidable truth: death. The Stoics frequently practice memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to foster pessimism, but to cultivate gratitude for life. If today were the last time you could see the sunlight, sit with loved ones, or feel the wind on your face, would you still consider those things mundane, or would you realize their immense value? Awareness of life's impermanence does not induce fear. It deepens our ability to live fully. When we acknowledge that every moment could be our last, we stop taking them for granted. We cherish each second, each breath, each touch, each glance at the sky. Stoicism teaches us not to seek meaning in distant, extraordinary events, but to create it from the smallest moments. Life is not just a collection of grand peaks, but the sum of all our moments. If we learn to appreciate the ordinary, we will never feel that life is wasted. Ultimately, the meaning of life is not only found in moments we cherish alone, but also in the relationships we build and nurture. An ordinary day becomes special when shared with someone, and even the harshest challenges become lighter when faced together. Stoicism is not just about self-mastery and independence. It also highlights the importance of human connection in shaping wisdom and resilience. We often hear about the importance of self-discipline, but Stoic philosophy never glorified complete isolation. Humans are social beings, and our connection with others sustains our mental well-being, shapes our conscience, and strengthens our ethics. When life becomes chaotic, when guilt, doubt, or anxiety consume us, opening ourselves to those around us is key to restoring balance. We cannot rely solely on our own thoughts to discover the truth, as the human mind is prone to distortions. Engaging in conversation, listening, and sharing with others helps recalibrate our conscience, expand our awareness, and avoid being trapped in self-created illusions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." Trusted friends and loved ones can help us see what we overlook, making us realize when we're being too harsh on ourselves, or, conversely, helping us recognize mistakes we are unwilling to admit. Life's greatest wisdom comes not only from solitude and reflection, but also from meaningful connection. When we embrace both silence and human relationships, we cultivate a life of clarity, resilience, and true fulfillment. In the grander context of life, a failed entrepreneur may feel like they are drowning. However, history is filled with individuals who have faced failure, risen above it, and ultimately succeeded. Connecting with such stories helps us find peace within ourselves. Modern psychology supports this notion. Studies in social psychology show that people with strong support networks and a sense of community are better equipped to overcome depression and anxiety. We are not isolated beings. We are part of each other. When we lose connection with the world, we don't just lose awareness of ourselves. We lose our sense of purpose. People who feel life is meaningless often lack a support system. No close friendships, no meaningful work, no lifestyle that keeps them motivated. The way to combat nihilism is not by searching for abstract philosophical answers, but by building a life of discipline and connection. Good habits, strong relationships, wise use of free time, and meaningful work contribute to a solid support system. When life gets tough, these foundations keep us from losing our way. Connection does more than maintain our conscience and prevent destructive thought loops. It is a foundation that helps us overcome personal suffering and build resilience. A life worth living is not one of isolation, but one rich in interaction, learning, and continuous growth. When you connect in the right way, you not only find peace within yourself, you become part of something greater. You find true meaning. At the end of today's journey, I invite you to reflect on an essential question. What does balance in life truly mean? In the relentless pace of the modern world, people constantly push forward, believing that success and productivity are the keys to fulfillment. But is that really true? If you pour all your energy into your career, you may reach dazzling heights. But when you turn around, will anyone still be walking beside you? You may become a genius or a leader in your field, but does that necessarily equate to happiness? The Stoics understood a fundamental truth. No achievement holds real meaning if the price you pay is imbalance. If you sacrifice everything to chase a single goal, have you truly won? Or have you merely lost yourself in the process? The Stoics did not deny the value of career or excellence, but they understood that a life worth living cannot revolve around a single axis. Devoting all our time and energy to work may make us the best in our field, but it can also make our lives one-dimensional. A brilliant scientist might work 70 to 80 hours a week in pursuit of groundbreaking discoveries, and an entrepreneur might dedicate their entire life to building an empire. But if they neglect their families, if they never take a moment to savor life's simple joys, is their success truly worthwhile? This is a hidden cost of perfection, a silent sacrifice that many don't realize until it's too late. Opposing perfection is a concept far less celebrated, yet just as crucial: wholeness. If perfection means dedicating everything to a single pursuit to reach absolute mastery, then wholeness is a balanced way of living. It means advancing in one's career while also nurturing relationships, caring for mental and physical health, and cherishing life's small yet meaningful moments. Those who chase perfection may become legends in their fields, but they may also miss family dinners, deep conversations with friends, and the quiet peace of a morning cup of tea. Meanwhile, those who seek wholeness may not reach the dazzling peaks of fame, but they will live a rich, multifaceted life. And most importantly, they will not feel like they have lost something essential. So, the question remains, do you want a perfect life or a whole life? Society often glorifies the extraordinary, but the truth is, not everyone needs to be the best to live a meaningful life. A fulfilled life doesn't have to shine like the bright lights of stage. It can be a harmonious symphony of work, family, friendships, and quiet reflection. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Happiness is not something distant, nor is it only attainable through great achievements. It lies in our mindset and in the balance between the things that matter most. But how do we find balance when the world constantly urges us to do more and achieve more? First, we must recognize that success is not the only measure of a life well lived. Ask yourself, what am I striving for? Am I sacrificing precious moments with loved ones just to complete one more project or earn one more paycheck? If the answer is yes, then perhaps it's time to pause and reassess what truly matters. Remember, no one on their deathbed ever wishes they had worked more, but many regret the time they didn't spend with the people they love. Moreover, balance does not come from doing less, but from reordering priorities. If your work is important, devote time to it, but do not let it consume everything. Set boundaries for yourself. Avoid working beyond a certain hour. Resist checking emails on weekends, and choose meaningful conversations over endless screen time. A balanced life does not mean abandoning ambition. It means ensuring that ambition does not consume you. Ultimately, the most valuable lesson Stoicism teaches us is the art of letting go. We do not need to be the best at everything. We do not need to chase a standard of perfection imposed by others. When we let go of what is not truly essential, we gain more time to embrace what is. A balanced life is not one without challenges, but one where, despite the obstacles, we do not lose ourselves. You may become a legend in your field, but if you lose yourself along the way, is it truly worth it? In the end, what remains is not fame or achievements, but the memories we create, the people by our side, and the deep sense that we live a whole and meaningful life. Balance is not just an option. It is a foundation of a life truly worth living. We have just explored 17 principles that could reshape the next 20 years of your life, not through empty theories, but through timeless truths forged in the fires of experience. We've discussed the power of purpose, because without direction, every step is meaningless. We've talked about personal responsibility, because true freedom only comes when you take full ownership of yourself. We've looked at adversity as an opportunity, understanding that challenges don't block your path, they shape you. We've delved into self-reflection, problem-solving, letting go, and balance, because a meaningful life isn't just about relentless pursuit, but about knowing what truly matters. But knowledge alone won't change you, only action will. These principles will make no difference if you simply listen without applying them. You can continue reacting out of habit, caught in meaningless distractions, or you can choose to live with intention. Focus on what truly counts, and build a future you'll never regret. one day at a time. The choice is yours. If this message has given you a new perspective, take a second to hit like. It means more to me than you know. Share this video with those you care about, because sometimes a single idea can be a turning point in someone's life. Drop a comment below and let me know what resonated with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe, because there's so much more profound content on the way, and I want to make sure you don't miss a thing. Thank you, and see you next time.